Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. Today, I have with me Brian Hilliard. Now, some of you probably recognize that name because you were at one or both of my summits where Brian presented in 2021 and 2022, or you may have even read his book, Winning in Direct Sales. Or if you're a BNI member, you probably also know him as the co-author with Dr. Ivan Misner for Networking Like a Pro, turning contacts into connections. And I am super excited to bring Brian on to the podcast also because we have a really fun announcement to make here on the show today. But first, let me welcome Brian onto the show. How are you?
Awesome. You know what? I'm doing great. We were talking earlier. I played a little golf yesterday. I'm feeling good. My girlfriend and I were doing a 10X workout, and that's got me feeling good. No, I'm feeling great.
That's good.
We had to buy a new scale. We bought a new scale because the old one was no longer up to standard. Okay. And I also have a body fat mass indicator that I'm going to test on the dog first and then try to see on myself to see how that goes. But overall, I'm doing great.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I am not in a workout program right now, although my health coach probably wishes that I would, but that's okay. I'm starting with the nutrition first, making my way into eventually moving a little bit more. But right now, it's just too dang hot here in St. Louis for that crap. You know, it's hot and humid here because it's not only hot in St. Louis, we also have 85%, 90% humidity most of the summer. It's when you've got a giant river like the Mississippi right there, it's just part of it. So, but anyway, I'm having you on the show for a couple specific reasons. First of all, you are freaking brilliant. And I love having you on the show to be able to share your brilliance with my audience. But then we also have, as I teased in the intro, we have a fun announcement. So what do you say we start with the announcement so that people can get excited and then we'll talk and then we'll get into the cool stuff that we have at the end for everybody. So do you want to tell everybody what we're doing?
No, go ahead. It's your show. Of course, you go ahead.
Okay. So, Badass Crew, I am super excited to announce because this is the first place where this is going public.
Right.
Brian Hilliard and I are getting into collaboration together to help more direct sales and network marketing teams move forward faster because he is the mindset guru. I'm the team and leadership guru. Imagine those two things together in one, and you've got an unbeatable team guiding your team to success, hitting number one in your company because, well, frankly, we've done that. So we want to help others do that as well. So Brian, I am super excited to get to work with you. I am just, I'm ecstatic because I adore you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And this has been great. And I think that this is, with what you bring to the table, no question in terms of expertise and, from a mindset standpoint and we'll talk about some points, going into this, because I think mindset really is a big part of it. But, it's a little bit like, the old Wonder Twin powers activate, right? And, instead of form of a giant octopus and shape of a bucket of ice, it's going to be more, right? You remember this?
Yes, I do.
I almost bought a shirt that said that. So sidebar, if that's okay. Yeah. I almost bought a shirt. I actually was in the process of buying a shirt that's for the Silver Surfer.
Nice.
It looks really good.
Nice.
And then while I was there was Wonder Twin powers activated. Anyway, I think that this is, it's really interesting. So it's really cool because I think, when we talk about what is it that makes people successful in the network marketing world, you know what I mean? I think a big part of it is mindset. I think that's a preceding factor. I think then comes skill set. And that's not in order of importance. I just think it's a preceding factor. And, when you have mindset and you have skill set set up, I think it really, really works. Let me tell them a little bit of the backstory, if that's okay. And then we'll get right into whatever questions you have, and I'll get into the mindset points.
Sure.
So Jennie and I, like she said, we've known each other for about 2 or 3 years now in terms of the, being able to get onto the summit and the stuff that she's been so nice enough to allow me to be a part of, which was nice. And then from there, what's happened is, we talked, had a chance to get to know each other a little bit more. I think you are in BNI, if I'm not mistaken. And that's how, so you had known about the networking like a pro and how that kind of came about with myself and Dr. Meisner. And, I think this is part of, when you take a look at it, and this is, I think, part and parcel to networking in general, network marketing in particular, which is you want to make sure that you bring good people on, like you're talking about your team, right? Yeah. Obviously, we're talking about this team, but there's a network marketing team as well. Not that we have, but in general. And you want to really bring good people onto your team. And for Jennie and I, it was some of those things where, to my mind, it was a no-brainer. And to be able to have someone who has a lot of experience and does and has done and continues to do a lot of these types of things. And I don't feel like I'm too shabby myself. I've been in the league since 2001. I've written 7 books. I feel like I have some game. So, when you talk about some of these different things and you bring it together, I think what you have is something that's successful. And being able to and we have some other stuff, like you said, we have a program and stuff around this. But, I think that's kind of how that got started. And I think for most people, like I said, mindset is definitely something that they struggle with. It's just not something that is talked about a ton at the front end. And I think that's why people struggle, but we can get into that. Into that.
No, and one thing, if the listener is not familiar with you, you love sports metaphors, and luckily so do I as well. I'm also a sports fan. I'm not as knowledgeable as you are, but I really kind of see the two of us coming together as being like, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. Like, imagine they're on the same team.
Right.
Like, imagine Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa playing together on the same team. Imagine, Troy Aikman and, oh my God, who else? I don't know. You can't have 2 quarterbacks. There we go. Michael Irvin, right? Being on the same team and what that would be like 2 people from 2 different teams coming together and saying, okay, no, now we're going to work together for the betterment of everybody. And that's exactly really what we wanted, because you and I have different ways of approaching different parts of it. Like I mentioned, you're the mindset guru who also just, you have these amazing ways of explaining things that people just really attach onto very well. Because like I mentioned, you've been on the summit a couple of times. So you've come in, had shared stuff in such a way that people who were there reached out to you and wanted to connect with you because of the way that you explain things. And then I've also seen you present on contact mapping, because I also brought you in on brought you in on contact mapping as a trainer, because they're always looking for qualified, wonderful trainers. And I was like, oh, well, then y'all need to meet Brian.
Right. With Adrian. That's exactly right. You did.
So us coming together allows us to each really, and the conversations that we've had have really upped my game and your game. And then we've had the pleasure of working with somebody already together. And in just that short amount of time that we were able to work with them, upped their game, which was really phenomenal. And so, it's just been fantastic to get to, I wish everybody here could be a fly on the wall for some of the conversations that we had to see what we were coming up with, because damn, it made me go back when I was thinking back to when I was active in my direct sales business and when I was, approaching the top of my company's ladder. I wish I would have had a team like us helping me and my team do what we're talking about doing.
Well, and that's a great point, because I think a lot of times, and I talk about this, I say that success in network marketing is less about learning something new that works and more about unlearning something old that doesn't. And I believe that to be true. Now, if someone wants to debate
agreed.
that with me, we can have that conversation. But I think that, when you take a look at, and I know I've had this for myself, you see people just in business in general, but we're talking network marketing, right?
Uh-huh.
Or life in general, actually, but we're talking network marketing. And you're like, boy, network marketing. This person has, they've got a great team. They've got a thriving, home life. They've got the recruits and stuff that seems to really just be coming with ease. They're building their own personal business. So that hasn't gone, because sometimes that happens too, right? That hasn't gone out the window. And you're like, I don't understand why she's doing that here. It's not a competition. I don't understand it, why she's doing that over here. And I have the same work ethic, skill set, and training. Like, I've been at conference with her. Like, I'm there. Okay, maybe she even started a year after me. That's the other thing. Okay, and you're sitting, you know this, and you're sitting there and you're like, why is that the case? And here's the answer. I've thought about this. The answer is that while we are engaging in all of these things, going to conference, taking notes, listening to audiobooks, listening to podcasts like yours, talking to the different folks in their teams and in their companies and things, while that person is doing all those things, they're also inadvertently engaging in some other activities that are actually holding them back. And you're like, Brian, other activities. Okay. The way to think of it is it's kind of like a computer. All right. Where you have things going on in the background, where you have a program and then you have other things going on in the background. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're not aware. And our brain, by the way, is like a computer. This shouldn't be the first time people have heard that. All right. So
one would hope.
So what happens is our brain is like a computer and we're running things in the background. All right. So how does that tactically impact our ability to be successful? Well, one of the guys that there's 2 points on that real quick. Point number one is to keep in mind that our brain is not designed to help us be successful. Our brain is designed to help us stay safe.
Yep.
The problem is that success in network marketing, okay, to be successful in network marketing and to stay in your comfort zone, those are two mutually exclusive things. That's what the problem is. If we're just trying to boil it down to, Brian, in your mind, why is mindset so important? And what's the problem? That's it. Success in network marketing and your comfort zone are mutually exclusive. Okay.
They are not overlapping Venn diagrams, people, not initially. No. Now, the more successful you get see, here's my take on that, though. The more successful you get, the bigger that circle becomes and the closer it gets to overlapping and eventually overlapping your comfort zone because you get comfortable in success.
That's exactly right. So what happens is initially when people are trying to do this, right? Why are some more successful than others? What they're thinking is a whole, bunch of things. But what's going on in the background, what's going on in the background are things like, there's a really good book called Inner Excellence by Jim Ellis and talks about the 3 greatest adversaries. And one of the things that they talk about is the inner critic, the monkey mind, and this idea of the trickster. And for a lot of people, a lot of network marketers, you've got that inner critic going on where it's like, I should be doing this, or I'm, comparisitis, and I should be doing this. And why am I not getting enough of that? And this should be, and that's it. And what happens is when you throw on these types of things, inner critic, monkey mind is where it's paralysis by analysis. You have the trickster. So the inner critic makes it seem like you're not good enough. So the inner critic, what the inner critic does is takes a negative external event, say not getting a sale, not getting a recruit, and attribute it to a personal shortcoming. It does not say, oh, well, you didn't get this recruit, and therefore that's just the way the ball bounces. You can't expect it to all go in. It does not do that. It says, you didn't get this recruit because you're not good enough, because you weren't prepared, because you didn't ask the right questions, because people don't like you, because you're not it's a personal shortcoming. Okay, so that's how you get the inner critic. Now, as far as the monkey mind is concerned, that's a conversation around being able to having it where it's paralysis by analysis, thinking about, looking at, acting like, maybe do it, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the problem with that is, and my girlfriend, she's actually doing some training with a woman, her name is Dr. Kim Redmond. And one of the things that they talk about is that with your brain, you talk about the comfort zone, it will actually physically try to talk you out of things. It doesn't want to move. It will bring things up. Okay. And you're like, Brian, you're crazy. No, I'm not. You've heard, I can prove it to you. You're like, your brain can't make you dreams, more specifically, nightmares. We didn't do anything. We're sitting in our bed. We're actually unconscious. There's no one within 50 yards of us. Yet we wake up and okay, so the idea that that a mindset can't cause a visceral physical reaction, I don't need to prove that to you. It's called dreams and nightmares. Okay, so if that same thing is happening and causing us to hold back, that's where we get into some challenge, and that's where when you take a look at, I tell people it's like having your foot on the brake and the gas at the same time. And that is why you can see people doing all of this work similar to somebody else and not move ahead in their network marketing business.
Right. Because the person who's moving ahead has figured out what was holding them back and they've let off that brake. Right. And the people who were doing the comparitis that you were just talking about, comparisonitis, they're looking at that person and going, I'm doing the same things, not recognizing that they still have, their right foot may be pedal to the metal, but their left foot also has it on the brake at the same time. So your engine is going, I don't know what to do.
That's exactly right. And I think a lot of times too, a first step, people have asked me, well, what's a good first step? In mindset, we talk about this in our program too. We're putting this stuff together. And one of the things that I try to talk about is you have to separate yourself from the action. Like a lot of people in network marketing take things personally. You cannot take it so personally. Sometimes the ball doesn't go in the basket. And that's the way the league works. Okay. You're not a bad person because of this, that, or the other. There's some adjustments. So one of the things I say to people in terms of a mindset perspective is when something like, I'll give you a perfect example. So I was playing golf. I told you that yesterday. And it was hot, 91 degrees Fahrenheit, heat index approaching 100. It was hot. Yeah. And I was playing fine for 7 holes. And then all of a sudden, that my game completely fell off a ledge. Like I've never had that before. I'm doing fine for 100 minutes. And then the next 250, it looked like I'd never picked up a club. I couldn't believe it. It's the worst 10 holes I've had in my entire life. Couldn't believe it. Okay. So or 12 holes actually. So here's what I did. What I did was, it's what you do. First of all, I almost left the course, but I'm like on 16, I hit it into the water. I was so mad. I almost just drove straight off. I'm like, no, let me finish the round. Okay. I would finish the round. Yeah. And what I did was, when I was done, I went straight to the driving range. There's a little chipping area. That's where my problem was. I was chipping. I wasn't chipping right. And because you have the full swing and then the shorter swing is chipping. And I wasn't chipping right. And I went straight to that range, the chipping range, and I hit 50 balls. Didn't stop, didn't go to the car, didn't change into shorts because I had pants on. I was too hot. I was overheating. Didn't stop, didn't change my shirt, didn't get some more water, didn't do anything. I dropped straight to the chipping range. Okay. I hit 50 balls. Then I said, okay, now we're talking. Hit 20 more, or 10 more actually. Okay. Then I was ready to leave.
Right.
Then I was ready to leave. And what happens is when you have, I realized, we talk about the whole point was not taking it personally. I didn't all of a sudden forget how to hit a golf ball. It looked like it for the last 2 hours, but I didn't all of a sudden forget how to hit a golf ball. I somehow had to make some adjustments to figure it out. And that's a mindset though, right? So if you're in network marketing and you're having some challenge where, oh, this is that, or that is this, or, blah, 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 blah. Well, how about we give a little bit more preparation? I'm not saying you aren't, but let's a little bit more preparation. And let's think in terms of adjustments. What could we do to prepare for this call differently than the last one that will allow us to be more successful? And when you start having that conversation mindset-wise, that's more empowering than, woe is me. Every time I try to do something, something doesn't show up. And then that inner critic starts going in there. And the trickster, and this will be my last point on this, then the trickster comes in and says, not only are you bad at what you did today, but I can't ever see you being good at it later. So you didn't get this done today right. And I don't think you're going to be able to get it done right later. So here's the through line in all of those. monkey mind, trickster, and inner critic. You know what the through line is on all of those? Let's just stop. Let's just stop. For whatever
reason
works for you today. I'm coming up with 50, but
right.
Let's just
quit.
Yeah, let's just stop.
Yeah. Hole 16. Let's just leave.
Oh my God, I was so mad.
Right? And I guarantee you, we have all had those days in this industry. I mean, I had those days when I was in the industry. The reason I didn't quit was because I had made a promise to myself that I wasn't allowed to quit on a bad day.
You had to quit on a good day.
I was only allowed to quit when things were going right.
Right. Then we can quit. Right.
I can go out on top and that's it.
Right.
And that was the agreement I had with myself. Not allowed to quit on a bad day. But I can't tell you the number of times I had team members call me and say, hey, I'm thinking I can't do this. I'm feeling like this might be it, blah, blah, blah. And, I had all kinds of different recommendations back then, although I have to say one of the best in it. So I would also tell them the rule I had for myself was I'm not allowed to quit on a bad day. So can we make sure you're not having a bad day first? I know you haven't made that agreement with yourself, but if that's what the number one person in the company is saying, then maybe you might want to you may want to consider thinking about that rule too, right?
Right.
But one of the other great things that came out of this podcast actually was one of my very first interviews at the very beginning of the show was with a gal named Andrea Burnett. And she was a leader at the time, she had been with Rodan and Field pretty much since they started.
Okay.
And she had such a huge organization. So she would get calls from people, once or twice a week saying, hey, I think I'm ready to quit. Like her organization was that big that she would get one or two of them a week. And I loved her recommendation, which was go fill the bath, pour a glass of wine, call me tomorrow. We'll talk tomorrow.
That's exactly right.
We're not going to talk when you're in this state right now. So go draw a bath. Fill a glass of wine or whatever beverage is your choice. I don't care.
Right.
And we'll talk tomorrow. And she said nobody ever quit the next day because it allowed them to calm down. She was able to have a calm conversation when they had just not gotten the sale, like you said, or whatever. And they had that inner critic, trickster, and monkey mind all playing at the same time going, okay, time to quit. Here's another reason to quit.
And I think that's what, we talk about in our program. We've got mindset, we've got business building, we've got team building, we've got leadership. Okay. So this is kind of the stuff that we're putting our Wonder Twin powers together to be able to do. And, you'll get into it, I'm sure, a little bit here in terms of how that works and what the format is. But in terms of the actual way that we do it, that's a leadership conversation too, isn't it? Because part of it is the reason I'm on 16, I'm hot, I'm pissed off, and I'm not playing well, and I just put it into the water. And, I remember I was like, and I almost just drove right past. And then I'm like, no. You know what I thought of? I was like, no. It wasn't even I want my money back or get my money's worth. That wasn't it. I was going to leave because I got it on call. I got a great deal, $31. It was fine. Yeah. But I was like, I would leave if I had to. But I was like, you know what? No. Let's work on our game. Let's just see what it is that we can do here. Because I'll drop a ball, and I kind of stopped keeping score a little bit because I felt like let's just work on our game a little bit and get a little bit better, okay? And then I swear to God, this is what happened. I dropped the ball. Now remember, I've been telling you for the last better part of 90 minutes, I'm not chipping the ball well. Dropped it. I'm like, we're gonna chip it right now again. Get over it. Boom, almost put it in, okay? And then put it in, and that's called an up and down because the ball goes up, boom, and then you put it in down. And there it is. You know what I mean? And that's what it is that you're looking for. But I think a big part too, and this is a quote I got from a client friend of mine, his name is David Andrew. He says, I sold my ego a while back at a good price, and I haven't missed it since.
Oh.
And isn't that awesome? And it's like, I think what happens is, and Dr. Kim was talking about this again. Deb was was listening to it. I could hear, you could hear it in the background.
Right,
And,
right.
And she was talking about this. And the idea was that that's a lower ego conversation. Okay, so the ego, so let's get into this for a second, if you don't mind, from a mindset standpoint. So what happens is you have your ego, and your ego, first of all, is not real. Your ego is a construct of your mind. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just keep in mind it's not real. Just because you can hear the voice doesn't mean it's not, that it's this. There's not, when we're dead and gone, they're not going to do an autopsy and they cut something open and boom, some type of Jack and the Beanstalk character, like a Gumby, popping out on downtown Manhattan. That's not how it works. Okay? There's nothing there in terms of the ego.
Ego is not there. Yeah.
It's not there. It's a fabrication. It's a representation. All right. So what that means is it's talking, the ego's main deal by definition is everything is okay. I got it covered. I'm the ego. What are you talking about? I don't need coaching. I don't need to read a book. I don't need to talk to Jenny. I don't need to talk to Brian. I don't need to listen to Jenny's podcast. I don't need to listen to Brian's podcast. I just need to go out and just figure this out because I've got this covered. And the ego's job is to talk you off the ledge.
Yep.
Okay. And the ledge in this case is growth. So it wants to talk you off the ledge because in their mind, it is the ledge. Now, in our mind, it's actually the edge, not the ledge. Okay, it's the edge of our comfort. That's what it is. But the ego is trying to trick us into thinking it's the ledge that if we decide to, okay, like Batman or something, how you hear the penguin goes, it goes all the way down. No, that's not it at all. But the ego's job is to convince us that it's not the edge of your comfort zone, Brian. It's the ledge to something sinister, something so much I can't even describe
this
it.
Really bad thing.
Right.
This horrible bad thing because it's unknown. That's
exactly right. So what we're talking about here is being able to walk people through a process from a mindset standpoint to set a foundation. It's being able to set the foundation to get out of your own way. There's a couple of things that everyone's doing. It's different for everyone. Yep. Okay, so I can't tell you off the top of the head what it is. For me, it was the monkey mind. Yep. But it's to be able to do a couple of things that you don't know you're doing in all likelihood that are holding you back. And then from there, turning that into a business building conversation, a team building conversation, and a leadership conversation. And that's what we're doing together.
Absolutely. Because once you have the mindset pieces in place, all the rest of it is easy, trying to get the business building and the team building and the leadership pieces put in the right place, because this whole thing is a big giant puzzle that everyone's trying to figure out. Right. And luckily between you and I think we got it. Right. What we have figured out is we now have all the puzzle pieces and we have the cover of the box in front of us.
I could say that.
We have the box right in front of us. So we know what it's supposed to look like. So we can help the people who we're going to get to work with grab the pieces from the right places, help them get them into the right place so that everything comes together because we've got the big picture and are guiding them to that. So as I talked about, so we're collaborating together. And what I wanted to share with the Badass crew right now is before we launch this program, we need some information because we want to make sure that what we're doing, yes, we believe we have the full picture, but we also know that both of us have blind spots because guess what? Everybody's got a blind spot. So what we want to do is we want to have some conversations with some people in the world of direct sales, network marketing, leaders in the industry. So we're looking for people leaders who have 3 specific things in place, right? Because this is who we're looking to work with. First of all, we're looking for leaders who have a team of 100 or more.
Right.
Minimum of 100 people on their team that we want to talk to because we need someone who's got a large enough organization that we can bring in all of these pieces to talk with them about.
Right.
Secondly, we're looking for someone who takes their business so seriously that they're invested in networking, meaning they are participating in some sort of networking organization at the investment level. They're not going and doing free networking.
Right.
They're out in BNI, Polka Dot Powerhouse, Team, NTI. I don't care what the name of the organization is.
Right.
We're looking for someone who networks, because we need to also have the conversation with someone who's out there working to build their own business and their team on a weekly and or monthly basis through
That's exactly right.
the connections that we're making. Because we've got literally the author of a networking book. Right. So that's obviously something that's really important to us as part of this. And then the third piece is that we're looking for somebody who has either A, replaced their income, or is B, looking to replace their income with this team that they've built in this organization that they're building, and retire their spouse at the same time. Right. These are really important things to us as part of this conversation, because we just need to ask a few questions. Right. So what we're doing, Brian,
I think it's 8. You specifically said 8.
Yes. We came up with 8 questions that we need to ask the person who we just described. So Badass Crew, if this is you, if you're like, oh, hey, that's me. Great. What I'm going to ask you to do is go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com/program survey. It's all one word, badassdirectsalesmastery.com/program survey, because you're going to sign up for a conversation. We're going to have links there where you can talk to either me or Brian. We're asking the same 8 questions. It's totally cool. If this is not you, but this is someone in your upline, you're like, oh, hey, that's the person who recruited me. Please share this episode with them and let them know. We'd love their information. We're going to have some gifts for the people who participate in this.
Yep.
It's not like this is a free 20 minutes, like please gift us 20 minutes and I'm not going to get anything in return. We are incredibly grateful for the information that we're going to.
We're giving away cars, I thought, right?
What's that?
Aren't we giving away like a car? We're giving away every time they come in. They're doing. That's the other piece.
That's later. No. We're not doing that. We're not doing a car. Okay. I think it was something like a card, like maybe a gift card.
That's confusing.
As you can tell, guys, you're going to have a lot of fun. Whoever you get to talk with, you're going to have fun with. So yes, we are going to have some gift cards as our thank you for the conversation, because this information is going to help us improve this program for the people who choose to participate in the future. So Brian, thank you. Thank you for being here and sharing your information about mindset. I so appreciate it. And I am so excited to get to work with you.
Well, I am excited too, and it's been my pleasure. And that's why it's being able to be able to just put the finishing touches on what it is we're trying to do here, and being able to get some insight and some stuff from the field will really be able to help us really make this, I think, just a blockbuster type thing. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
Oh, I am so super excited. So again, Badass Crew, in case you missed it, or maybe you were scrambling to grab a piece of paper to write this down, keep in mind that link is badassdirectsalesmastery.com/program survey. All one word, no dashes, no anything like that. And of course, the link is going to be in the show notes. If you have not listened to the show before, maybe this was shared with you by one of your team members who thinks that you're a good fit for this, the way you get to the show notes is click on today's episode on your phone, as long as you're not driving. Click on today's episode, scroll up, and you will see the show notes there with our contact information, as well as the link to go sign up for that 20-minute conversation, along with our little gratitude gift after the conversation. So that's really about it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and say, Badass Crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast, so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.